Hey Doobs, welcome to the final episode of the DooBisode series of 2020. What an incredible year it has been. Really trying times. Man, it has just been, a real setback in a lot of different ways. Let's get some jam and beats going on here and make sure all our audio levels are good. Thank you so much for joining with us. So much has happened in 2020 as far as me finally starting my passion and starting this gaming channel. It's been hard for many, but it's been an incredible journey for myself, and I really owe it to this awesome audience and this community that has joined me in celebrating the passion of video games that I just loved and have always wanted to project myself onto the world and just share my passion. So thank you so much for joining with us on this journey that we have. We've had so many journeys, so I really wanted to have a finale, a final episode with the Doob Radical Gaming channel and the DooBisode. Sorry, I'm using my hands. I'm just really excited to really talk about impactful experiences in games. There's been a lot of games that have come out in 2020, despite the setbacks and the hardships that not only gaming developers have faced, but the world as a whole. So it's really just incredible that we've been delivered such experiences off the bat, even with everything going on. And I just really hope that everyone has been safe and everyone has found some means to live as normal as possible and start finally a new year in 2021. Not that it will relatively, or really fix anything off the bat right away, but it is going to be a good start to a fresh start for I think a lot of people, or at least a new way to start fresh. Make some New Year's resolutions, some goals, some things you've been meaning to get to, and just really keep living your life as best and to the fullest as you possibly can. And I'm really excited to just take a look back, at least in the year 2020, because we did get some incredible games, some not some incredible games. There was really a good, bad, and ugly this year with 2020, with the world. But this is a gaming channel, so we're going to be looking at my personal top 10 video games. And I know this is primarily a PlayStation channel. They're mostly primarily do play PlayStation games. I'm a huge fan of Nintendo and Xbox and just everything gaming. So I'm not going to be able to really talk about all the games that have come out. I'm only one guy. I can only play so many games. So just bear with me. But I will be talking about the experiences that I've really enjoyed and just my thoughts on these games and why I really placed them on this list. And then I also do have a couple of honorable mentions that I will be talking about at the end after I talk about these top 10 games that are not in really any particular order, so to speak. So yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I really like the color pink, so I really want to project just some cool ambiance colors. Yeah, we got the background. Sorry about the audio. I know it's. I've been switching up microphones. I'm going to be getting a better microphone, but for now, I just have to use my POZR headset with somewhat of a muffled microphone, but it's all good. But thank you so much. If you can, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the Doob Radical Gaming channel, and let's really just talk about Doob's personal favorites. Top 10 games of 2020. There's been a lot of them. I really want to get right into it. So if you're joining with us for the last DooBisode of 2020, please make sure to grab a little drink and have a sip with me. And or if you don't drink, whatever, water, whatever works best for you. Arizona, as we drink all the time to get us through our long gaming sessions. So cheers to an absolutely amazing year, and we'll go through the top games, the honorable mentions. We'll be looking forward at a couple games I'm really excited about, and a couple other little tidbits to keep us going here. So thank you so much. Cheers to you, Doobs, and let's get rolling here. I know this microphone really picks up a lot of the not so fun sounds, but let's get right into it. And I did want to start off with kind of a movie of the year that really touched me and is really memorable. You know that we have movie of the week on the Doobisodes, on the weekly Doobisodes. I know I've kind of been a little faltering on the Doobisodes, but it gets busy around the holidays, so I really wanted to encompass a movie that I think has really inspired me. And being a theater kid, I really just want to talk about a movie that I think everybody should at least give one look, whether you come from a theater background or a history background or just an overall fanatic of movies and just a great production, especially Nothing Beats a Live performance. And I think I've had this as one of my movie of the weeks on my previous Doobisodes, but we're going to start off the last Doobisode by mentioning Hamilton. Yes, this production, this is a little bit of a cheat because this production was originally shot in 2016. This is just the promotional art, which you can watch on Disney Plus if you have the subscription. You can actually watch this produced, televised, film that you can watch and really just capture the essence of the movie. It's phenomenal. The soundtrack is really what sells this whole production. There's very little in terms of actual dialogue. It's kind of very similar to Les Miserables. In that sense, but if you got some times, we always talk about resting our sweaty little fingers from the games and sit back and watching a good movie. So Hamilton is by far an exceptional watch with an incredible cast starring Lin-Manuel Miranda and a bunch of other names that I really don't know off the top of my head. But if you're looking for a great time to sit down and watch a phenomenal musical, musical, there's just so much intricate moving parts, much like video games. So I really had to really encompass a movie that I think deserves a mention from me, and just an overall well watched. And this has won many awards. You can just Google this thing. This thing is not going to die anytime soon. And the cast is just phenomenal and beautiful and absolutely talented. Everyone cares about the project, and that's really what makes the performance shine. Is just a caring and an understanding of the source material. And really just it's during the Revolution and George Washington, and it's really just about the first secretary of this state and how he's really focused and transformed the battle in pre and post war during the Revolution. So absolutely give it a watch. It's on the Disney Plus movies, and if you just need a break from watching everything, hey, thank you so much for liking the stream. Thank you for being super awesome here. So let's keep going. That was the movie of the year for me. Is really there's been a lot of movies recently, especially I have to give an honorable mention to Soul recently on Disney as well, that you can watch. And man, Disney just really knows how to produce quality titles. But Soul is very enticing and very inspiring as well. You really have to find your spark, and I think I really connected with that film, and just finding your spark and how you want to share your passion with the world, because really that's just the the end all be all of it all, right? What else are we going to do in life than share a passion? But that was the movie of the year for me, Hamilton. Incredible cast. Me being a theater kid, that really connects with me, as well as just the work and the art that goes into the memorization and projection and really telling a story. And that's why I love video games. There is a story to be told in all 10 of the best games that I played in 2020. Man, that was a great transition. I really wanted to point out the transition there. I really wanted to make this a list of 5 games, but when I was going through all the games that I played in 2020, I really had to make a top 10 list. I really wanted to go X-Play mode on it, but this isn't really in no particular order. I really will be emphasizing some of the games we'll be talking about towards number 1 of the list, but let's just go through the games that I really just want to discuss and summarize, and that have really made me just more excited for gaming, and that some of these dream projects can come true, and that developers are still working very hard to really not only please the audience, that really is kind of a big portion of a game at the end of the day, but to really challenge themselves into pushing the boundaries of gaming. I'm very immersed in my games. I love having my big TV with the PlayStation 5 and in its utmost ray tracing graphics. So let's just talk about the games. No particular order. These are kind of revealed by release date here, but I'm just going to go ahead and start with my number 10 game. A game I've really been waiting for personally for a long time. If you've been watching the channel, I'm a huge fan of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and I'm talking about Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, finally released in January, right at the start of the year. To give us something to play and wait for some of the other titles we'll be talking about. But this is one of the titles that really wasn't the strongest in terms of gameplay, in story. Really, this is just the rehash of the original Dragon Ball Z saga and the Saiyan saga and the Cell saga and the Buu saga respectively in all those orders. And there's a bunch of really awesome side quests that kind of flesh out some characters. I really wish that maybe it was just polished a little bit more in terms of the voice acting. Like there was kind of three tiers of cutscenes, and they really did represent all of them. I mean, the game looked really great. I was really glad that Bandai Namco stuck with the cell shading graphics, and when the graphics and the cutscenes were animated beautifully, they looked amazing. We had some really cool Vegito moments, and we got reiterations of the Gallican, and really just summed up in a cool RPG that I've really been waiting for. A really solid single player story Dragon Ball experience and a next gen experience. So it was really cool to finally get that from Bandai Namco, and I think they are in a contract where Bandai Namco has to release one Dragon Ball game a year. I'm not sure if that includes portables, but we had Dragon Ball Fighters, and Xenoverse is still producing content every couple of months. Surprisingly, that game will never go away. But yeah, and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot also has been getting its DLCs, and does have one more final DLC, which is probably the Brawler movie. But it was just so fun, and I was excited finally playing these battles, looking so artistically animated very well in the battles, and just pulling off the combos the way you want without really having to. It wasn't really a hard game. It was just a nice breeze again through the Dragon Ball Z universe with the well-written characters by Akira Toriyama, and just really introducing probably a huge gaming fan base to the Dragon Ball universe. As Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball in general has really just gotten so much more popular, and I think Bandai Namco has been really smart with their IP franchises, including Digimon, and hopefully we'll be getting some more news and games in 2021. But as far as Dragon Ball goes, they are absolutely nailing it, and I think they're just holding their cards close to their chest in terms of releasing the next anime. As far as the show goes, it's been going still pretty strong with the manga, but can't really wait to see where Bandai Namco takes the next. Are we going to get that Dragon Ball Fighters 2? We're still getting the last bit of Season 3 in Dragon Ball Fighters. Right now, we're going to be getting Super Baby 2, and Gogeta Super Saiyan 4 was a really special finale character for Season 3, so really curious just to see if we're going to be getting a Season 4, or if maybe Arc System Works does have a Dragon Ball Fighters 2 in the works, so I guess we will see there. But yeah, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot was a dream project for me, and I think overall they nailed it. Overall it was a solid experience to fly around and really feel like you were Dragon Ball Z characters, as Goku and Vegeta and Trunks and all the different characters you can play, was still releasing some good content. Not to mention the card game out of nowhere that they released, which is completely unnecessary, but kind of a fun little project at the end of the day. And I haven't really played it myself, but they're making content, and it's definitely worth the price of admission right now. So that was Dragon Ball Z Kakarot at my number 10 spot. Moving on to the 9th spot. This is also kind of a little bit of a hard one for some people. This is, take it with a grain of salt, but I still thoroughly enjoyed this game to where I wanted to platinum it. And this is, Resident Evil 3. Coming out in April. Coming out after January, we had a couple releases, and again, I love Nintendo and Xbox. I just want to iterate that I didn't get to every game this year on those consoles, so this is going to be primarily PlayStation and multi-platform consoles. But Resident Evil 3, coming after Resident Evil 2, it was just really hard to think that Capcom could really screw up this title in any way, really, because the remake of Resident Evil 2 was remade and reimagined, really, is the proper term, in such a way that they kept everything that made RE2 great. And I think it was almost kind of so good that people actually kind of overlooked that game is still actually pretty different from the original, and cutting out some locations, but really just holding what was true about Resident Evil 2. And I think people were blindsided when Resident Evil 3 came out, and actually there was so many changes that it was completely more noticeable in this reimagining of Resident Evil 3. There was actually a lot of kind of little subtle changes that didn't look like it really added up in Resident Evil 2 remake, but they really showed in Resident Evil 3. But they just cut out entire sections of this game, like the clock tower and the puzzles, and not to mention the choice system that I was really kind of excited for really a lot of replay value. That's kind of the issue here with Resident Evil 3, but I digress on the negatives. I put this on this list. This is the number 9 title. Um, but I just really enjoyed it. I love the graphics were stunning, and even though Nemesis was kind of done poorly, it was still awesome to see him redesigned. And as far as his transformations and what goes on in the story is still a little lackluster. I love following Jill's story, and really the only thing bad, and I said this in my final thoughts, is I just really wanted more from this game because it was so good and so polished, and I loved it so much where I just wanted to keep replaying it. And I loved speed running it, and it is one of the easier Resident Evil titles. I don't think it really does it justice in terms of the difficulty unless you're playing a Nightmare. Um, but the store was there, the unlockables. I just wish we had more costumes, and it just seemed like it was kind of a really what a lot of media outlets were saying. It was more of a DLC edition than a full-on $60 title, and we're gonna see this kind of throughout the year about content and really just kind of being lied to really or deceitful. That's a huge kind of no-no in the video game realm right now as far as developers go, and showing really what you're getting in the game. And we weren't really sure. You're never really sure what you're getting in the game until the developer shows you what they want to show you. And we got the really cool demos in the Raccoon City demo. But I think the changes were just too noticeable in the Resident Evil rendition. But Capcom has been on a huge roll. They are really moving up from that AA developer to the AAA developer, with amazing releases like Devil May Cry 5 and Special Edition. I have to give a sneak in honorable mention here with Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, and really running Devil May Cry as it should be on next generation consoles with the ray tracing and the higher frames and all that. But Capcom is really, even though this title did not come with as much content as I think people were looking for, it still was a fashionably polished title with a fun campaign. And if you bought this game at the right price, if you buy this game at 20, even 30, even maybe $40, I'd say you still got your money's worth with a very awesome campaign, at least to play through once. And I was really hoping they were just going to do more free DLC for this game, so I was kind of, again, left my head scratching why there wasn't, I guess, the Mercenaries DLC mode that I thought, because they had a really good run with Resident Evil 2 and releasing awesome free DLC with Resident Evil 2. I thought they were going to kind of follow suit, and they did have the Resistance. I gotta say, they did have the Resistance multiplayer mode, so that was also a huge factor in altering the content of Resident Evil 3 as campaign. But for me, I wish they would have just focused on the campaign, or maybe gave us that Mercenaries mode. I think the Resident Evil the multiplayer mode is just kind of dead at this point. I think people have kind of moved on now. So but really, really loved what I played with the campaign of Resident Evil 3, and I went back so much that I planned a minute and had a great time. And especially with the pre-order, costumes, it really made playing Resident Evil 3 even more fun to me to play it like that, and it's old-fashioned there. So yeah, I just have to get that a mention for the 9th spot of Resident Evil 3. So, and in my next, this is kind of an interesting setup because Resident Evil 3 came out, and then a week later, we just really started hitting these huge blockbuster releases, especially from Sony. Again, this is primarily a PlayStation channel, but Sony really hit its stride with releasing exclusive games, and they've been really riding that train this whole generation. But of course, we had the phenomenally release, and I'd say mostly positively, generally favorable throughout old school and new school fans alike, is Final Fantasy VII Remake. And actually, this is kind of secretly one of my top favorite games of this year as far as presentation and gameplay and RPG mechanics, to really introduce it to non-traditional and traditional Final Fantasy players. As far there's been a lot of ways to play this game over the years. They've really shifted a turn-based style to more of an open, free mechanic type adventure style with the Final Fantasy series, and I really kind of like that approach. I fell in love with Final Fantasy 15 so much that I platinum that game. And when they finally pulled the trigger on this Final Fantasy VII remake, and we got release date, and it just had to get pushed back a month. We were gonna get this in March, got pushed back to April. But the game turned out beautiful and phenomenal, and really not that many bugs and issues that seem to plague games that release too early, and we see this a bunch in 2020. And I'm not even really going to get into the whole cyberpunk debacle. I'll kind of talk about that at the end, but that's really not my forte to talk about. But Final Fantasy VII Remake got me even playing some of the original a little bit. And again, it's interesting to see the content that is cut or added, or just what detail developers want to focus on. It seems that it's really hard to get remakes and reimaginings, as I like to put it, just right. This was the year of remakes, and a bunch of games that I'll get to in a little bit here. But Final Fantasy Remake really did nail the dot on the head. But it's kind of interesting with Part 2 coming out, and they didn't really. Again, there's kind of a deceitful marketing ploy here, where what are you really getting with this game? Because really, this Final Fantasy VII Remake was only about a quarter, I guess, of the original Final Fantasy VII game, and there's still a lot of content that we have yet to see. As far as the whole Final Fantasy VII experience, and me never really beating Final Fantasy VII, or growing up traditionally a Final Fantasy VII player, I'm just curious to see, and it's almost easier for me to sit back and watch it all happen and just kind of enjoy myself, because I love Final Fantasy VII, the effects and the graphics, and maybe I'll even get a play on PlayStation 5 and see how it stirs up as compared to when I played on PlayStation 4 Pro. But again, the story and the voice acting and the tale being told, and just really the world building here was really the first true experience of a game. I mean, aside from Resident Evil 3 week before, which was really great, but Final Fantasy VII was really that first very strong game this year, I believe, for 2020, to really just push the boundaries of the console with the decent amount of content and the huge amount of hype and fan base surrounding the Final Fantasy series. And this game specifically, I mean, we were awaiting this game and being teased by this game for so long, and now we have Final Fantasy 16 coming up, I guess 2021, and Sony has kind of got that on lock, and I guess that's going to be a PlayStation exclusive as well. So, you know, Sony has got a lot on the horizon, and Final Fantasy 7 was a huge hit home run for Sony. I think this game is coming out on PC. I'm not sure if it already came on PC, but still no sign of the Xbox version. So Sony's still got the Final Fantasy train on lock. When we kind of saw the multi-platform release with Final Fantasy 13, 14, and 15, I believe. So, yeah, it was an amazing experience. I streamed the whole thing, and it's really a special game. It's one of the first games I really was able to stream start to finish and really dedicate my channel to streaming this game. So people, if they didn't really want to pick up the game, they were able to check me out playing it. So, yeah, and you can really check that out. And by the way, if you're watching this and you are curious to see what I thought about 2019, I do have a video about 2019's best games that I did a review summary of. So I'm really just having a good time talking about all these games that come out. And let me know really how your 2020 was as far as gaming, and what you've been playing too in the comments if you'd like. It really means a lot to me to start conversations with you guys. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII was absolutely great, and enjoyed myself wholeheartedly. Now this next title has been a very interesting journey for a lot of people, and we were all very excited to finally see what Naughty Dog had up their sleeves when they had a solid concrete release date for The Last of Us Part 2. This game is one of those special games because back in 2013, when the first Last of Us released on, the Twilight era of the PlayStation 3, it was a huge blockbuster success. The news was talking about it. I think a lot of people really saw video games as so much more than video games, with The Last of Us Part 1 as really being a movie-like experience, or just a really gripping tale that Naughty Dog was crafting for a long time. Even at the start of the Uncharted series, there was they finished up Uncharted. Some team went to work on Uncharted 2 from Naughty Dog, and the other team, yeah, Nader, hey, what's up, man? Thanks for coming by and saying hi. Thank you for watching. We're just talking about the top 10 games on my list of DOOB Radical Gaming channel. If you can, please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow, man. Really appreciate it. But The Last of Us 2 or The Last of Us 1 was really a proven ground front that games were movie experiences, and if you took the long, hard road of crafting an experience, you could make something that would stun even non-gamers. I think non-gamers were playing this game. This is what sold PlayStation 3s, is non-gamers wanted to see what all the fuss was about with Last of Us 1. And fast forward 7 years later, finally, we, after so many delays, and thank you for the support, man. I really appreciate it. After so many delays and hype and anticipation, The Last of Us 2 finally released in June. And this was, really, Sony had Ghost of Tsushima coming a month later, so they were not scared of releasing two heavy-hitting blockbuster titles literally within a month apart. And when The Last of Us 2 hit, this game sold crazy. It was so hard to, but there was a little backlash, and they had to delay this game with the pandemic and the trying times, and really polishing this experience. And what we got was really a phenomenally crafted, intricately detailed, gripping, heartfelt story that really continued from Last of Us, and they really made sure to include the part 2 in the subtitle and the subtext of The Last of Us, because this really is a continuation of The Last of Us Part 1. And they really connected with fans on this one, because the story, I mean, really, people did dislike this game because of the story and the huge moment that happens. We really just don't get a huge lot of time with Joel as a character, and really the events that happen. I'm not really going to go into too much spoilers with the story here, but the gameplay was fine. The gameplay was mostly what we got with Last of Us 1, just enhanced with more upgradable weapons, more animations, more ways of travel. But really, there was a huge divisiveness of the story, with people changing the story with the Ellie versus Abby, this Ellie and Abby story moments, and what they're going to go with in the future with Last of Us, if they're going to continue the story, and it just might just be so long before we get another Last of Us. I think people have expectations, and when their expectations aren't met, they just set the thing on fire, and they don't try to understand the story. Happy New Year, Mama Doob. Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. So when people don't understand something, they set on fire and they don't try to understand it. But I think if you really do understand the story of Last of Us 2, I think it really makes sense. And there's really some strong themes with growing as a character, and the whole Abby scenarios, and understanding the motivations of what we do when we're really pushed to the the last of us in the brink of humanity. So yeah, I kind of digress. I kind of want to keep moving forward here, but The Last of Us 2 was really just of divisiveness as far as the story goes, and it's hard to really brag on a story, at a video game for its story. Really, a game first should have good gameplay, and if it's fun, and Last of Us 2 was absolutely fun, and you really do connect with the characters, and I thought there was some really intense encounters, and just really produced at the highest quality AAA possible, with a lot of talented people working on one solid game. The Last of Us finally came, it's here and it went, and now we're already on the dawn of next gen, so I guess we'll see where Sony does with Last of Us. We never did get the multiplayer aspect, I'm not sure if we will. Um, but here we are with The Last of Us 2, already came and went in all these games. I remember being excited for all of these games. And the next one, game number 6 on Doob's top 10 list, is Ghost of Tsushima. Now, this one was a big, strong one, and even maybe more exciting than The Last of Us Part 2 for many, because of the new IP and the fresh franchise and the fresh game, especially coming from Sucker Punch. The guys that brought us the infamously titled Infamous and Cole McGrath's story, and they started this generation off with Infamous Second Son, being a phenomenal, action adventure open world, really utilizing the PlayStation 4's technology. At the beginning, it wasn't the best title. I think, from what I hear mostly from people, is that it was a great title, but just had a few shortcomings that really didn't make it that super standout title like Ghost of Tsushima did with Sucker Punch. With Jin Sakai and the tale of becoming the ghost and honoring your family, there is a lot to be memorable about this title, and really, I think has just accumulated everything that makes a great open world video game. As far as fast as traveling and fighting enemies and discovering new obstacles, it's very, Breath of the Wild, and very witchery in a sense that you're grounded in this world, and every animation feels good. It maybe has some detail of polish that is yet left to be yearned for, especially coming off of Last of Us Part 2 with, phenomenal, top-notch, second to none animation work. But as far as all the intricate moving parts of Ghost of Tsushima with the tale and the story and the combat is just a lot of fun. It's got that, Arkham Knight style, WB, with pairing and fighting and really working a lot of enemies all at once with a lot of cool gadgets at your disposal with a cool RPG level up system. I think it's kind of funny how a lot of 2020's games have kind of blended into the same experience of open world and level up your character and go to the radio post and destroy the group of bad guys and level up and wash, rinse, repeat. But Ghost of Tsushima just really kept it fresh and really exciting to go to that next standoff or follow the next Fox Den. There's a lot of these cool moments that maybe got a little repetitive after a little bit, but it was cool to see it in the new settings, and it's definitely one of those titles that's fun enough to platinum. Kind of like that reminds me of Marvel Spider-Man in a way, more or less. But yeah, that was game number 6 on the top 10. Again, these are in no particular order, and the next title here is a very near and dear, close to my heart experience, because this really is the first game that I streamed start to finish on the DOOB Radical Gaming channel, kind of along with Final Fantasy VII. But I love these experiences. I was always excited for that next Soulsborne from Software gritty, hard, challenging combat experience. I'm talking about Nioh II. This is actually the picture for the first Disciple, the first DLC, and I unfortunately was kind of drifted off from the game in the second and the third installments of the DLC, which are absolutely great. But what I played with the main campaign and the surprisingly awesome story, it's kind of hard to find, I'd say, a good upfront story with this is a From Software experience, but it's hard to find a gripping tale if you're not really looking deep within the lore from tales like Demon's Souls and Bloodborne. You really have to look deep to find the story there, but Nioh does it good in the sense that you can just play the story and get an upfront title with classic betrayal and character motivations while still getting awesome enemies and bosses to fight, and upgrading your character and create character customization any way you want. It's just fun to really implant yourself um, with a huge creation system with a bunch of awesome weapons that you don't get in many other games, with kunai with chain, with certain weapons like that. But Nioh 2 was just a phenomenal experience start to finish. If you're willing to work through the hardship and the difficulty, Nioh 2 is right up there with the great of the greats from Software, with titles like Dark Souls 1 through 3 and Bloodborne. And really just has a really unique look to it as well. A little bit more anime and stylized, but and I'll talk about From Software a little bit later. But Nioh 2 was a really nice pace change up that I believe this game came out in March, and just really kept the game stringed along this year. And it's just very memorable. Very fun to play online with friends too. Yeah, what's up, Meals? Kunai with Chain. Thanks for hopping on, man. I was feeling a little parched, so I'm gonna cheers to everyone. Thank you for everyone joining on the DOOB Radical Gaming channel. We're talking about Nioh 2. This is the sixth game. What's up, man? I really appreciate it. You got to keep that milestone followers going, I guess, man. And a huge shout out to my boy Meals, who really does make this channel worth it in streaming these games. It's always fun just for people to stop by and say hi, even if it's just for a minute or two, to see what good old Doob is playing on the Doob Radical TV. So cheers to y'all. Here's a nice swig of wine, and we got New Year's coming up tomorrow, and I really just wanted to wish everyone a happy end of the new year, to finally start fresh with 2021. I know it's a very different year, a lot of hardships and struggles, so I really do just appreciate people stopping by and sharing the passion of video games with me. We've had a lot of great games this year, and this is really why I wanted to talk great games with the top 10. So cheers to y'all. Here we go. Sorry, the microphone really does pick up everything. I'm gonna get a new microphone. I'm just working on the setup here. So Nioh 2 was just a great experience, start to finish. Yeah, happy New Year's, man. I really do miss all of my friends. So this is a great outlet to see everyone, even just for a little bit. So Nioh 2 was a lot of fun to play. Another adventure in a book. Now this next, that was the fifth game in the top 10. So these are in no particular order. These are kind of going by the release date. And this next title is actually kind of surprising to me. Again, this is another cel-shaded anime style soccer, or should I say football game, that really came out of nowhere. And I wasn't really familiar with the source material of the brilliantly released Captain Tsubasa. I wasn't really sure what to expect when picking up this game, other than that it was an anime soccer game, and I really became in tune with my inner FIFA and played a lot of FIFA matches with my buddies and scrimmages, and I really fell in love with just the quick action jump-in gameplay. And when I picked up Captain Tsubasa, learned that it had a story mode, I figured I'd check out the story mode, because I always figured that sports games don't really generally have a good story mode, or it's kind of hard to sit through. You're not really sure, but actually I picked up FIFA 19 and definitely enjoyed my time with FIFA 19 stories. So I was kind of hoping the same here with Captain Tsubasa, and I fell in love with Captain Tsubasa's characters. And thank you for the shoutouts. And Captain Tsubasa was just really awesome, and I love that you could feel the kicks and the goals and the really specialty moves that you could pull out in this game, and it translated well to local multiplayer. I didn't really get a huge chance to play locally, but online was the same deal. But once you got good at this game, I fully enjoyed my time with Captain Tsubasa, and I really fell in love with his whole team, and everyone really gets their whole shot in the limelight, so to speak. And you can check out all of these games on my playlist that I have on both my YouTube and Facebook channels if you want to see what Captain Tsubasa is all about. But wow, what a great experience to really combine not only anime, not only football, but um, with great gameplay and everything. It's more arcadey than I'd say FIFA, which kind of works out. But the once you learn the core mechanics of the game, it is a great time to play with friends and could translate well. If you're playing FIFA 20 and want to take a break and play a different soccer game, this game holds up as a phenomenal soccer experience on top of a great anime game. If you're just yearning for more anime style based games and learning something with a good story, especially if you're a fan of the manga. This is actually based on a Japanese manga from like the 70s. This is a long running franchise that finally made its way to the States and actually is out on Switch as well. But just had a great time with it. It was a lot of fun to stream and really recommend it as a sports game if you have the time to check it out. I'm sure it'll be discounted. If not, it's probably already discounted. But Captain Tsubasa takes the 4th slot in the top 10 games just for its amazing looking graphics, the cel shaded, and a great sports game. So this one, again, 2020 has been filled with dream projects, remasters, reimaginings, and this was a great surprise. There was a lot of surprises and a lot of not so good surprises in 2020 generally, but this one I was always waiting for. We got the 1 through 3 remaster, we got the Nitro Kart remaster, and all we needed was a full-fledged sequel to Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot 4, it's about time, pun intended on the subtitle. This was really just a fascinating release of what everything that made Crash Bandicoot good back in the heyday. This is a title developed by Toys for Bob. They did the recently released Crash Nitro Kart, so they are the Crash, the racing title. So they're really familiar with the source material. They knew what they were going for. And Crash Bandicoot 4 was great. They added new characters, they kept the core gameplay, even kept the core music that really makes it nostalgic if you were a classic Crash Bandicoot player. And if you've been watching the DOOB Radical Gaming channel, you know that old DOOB loves his Crash Bandicoot. This was one of the first games that I really experienced on the PlayStation back when I got my PlayStation with a copy of Resident Evil 2 and a demo disc with Crash Bandicoot 2. Instantly fell with the platforming gameplay, and I think that Crash Bandicoot has the best platforming and just subpar of Spyro and the recently released Sackboy with Little Big Planet. I think there's just a lot of great platforming, especially if you're into titles like Super Meat Boy or Braid with a little bit more of an emphasis on the puzzles. But yeah, Crash Bandicoot has some fun puzzles intertwined to its fast gameplay. Really, you're just jumping from one box to one box with the woes and the phenomenally awesome bosses and a lot of callbacks to the characters in Crash Bandicoots 1 through 3. And this title really does continue on from Crash Bandicoot 3 with Entropy and N-Cortex up to no good again, and to finally get a Joanne Frick, thanks for hopping on the stream and giving the support. But thanks also Mama Doob on there. So it was really just awesome to see the a new rendition, to experiencing a new audience, and I really hope that a lot of the younger audiences or the newer audiences who were looking for a good platform picked up Crash Bandicoot. It was a $60 title, so it was a little expensive. I'm not really sure what people were thinking, but it seemed like they were going tried and true and not filling this game with bullshit DLC or lack of content, because there is an impressive amount of content. With Crash Bandicoot 4, it's about time. You can play the parallel levels. You have 4 different characters to choose from, 5 different characters, I think, including everyone. And there's cool mirror worlds and stuff like that. So this is absolutely worth it. If you want to have a solid rendition of a platforming classic, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time takes the 3rd slot on the top 10 games of DOOB's top 10 games of 2020. It's been a shitty year, but we've had some great games and some pretty not so great games too. But this has been a great outlet for me to finally share my passion with you all. So let's continue with number 2 on the top 10 games of 2020 Doobs list. This is another surprising one again for me, one that I wasn't really expecting or even really hyped for right off the bat. This game actually comes pre-downloaded when you buy your PlayStation 5. And yeah, of course, I'm talking about Astro's Playroom. I knew that this game was coming with the PlayStation 5, and I was gonna play it. What I wasn't really expecting was a celebration of Sony's life and their history with the PlayStation brand. Astro's Playroom again is a solid platformer with basic mechanics. You have a linear level with a lot of moving parts with really good shiny looking graphics. Um, but really, what's happening in the levels is there's a lot of scenes of classic PlayStation, moments and characters. You see Nathan Drake and God of War, and of course, in this Astro kind of filter and all these characters, and it was just really cool to see all these different scenes and play out. And I'm so glad that this game comes with every PlayStation, so people are able to play this game and really witness the history of Sony and all these different games that they've had throughout the years, starting, with PlayStation 1, with Crash Bandicoot and Spyro and Resident Evil, and eventually moving on to God of War and Devil May Cry, and then really going on with Uncharted and Last of Us. Sony has really done a great job of branding their characters. Of course, we have the new PlayStation Studios, and they have all these characters and franchises and IPs under their umbrella, and they are just going to be doubling down on that with the PlayStation 5 generation that I can't wait for. There is so much to look for in 2021, and I really appreciate the support from everyone. So thank you so much. Yeah, I'll see you later. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the support from everyone. So yes, have a good night. And so yeah, Astro Playroom. When you get your PlayStation 5, if you're getting a PlayStation 5, take some time to check out Astro, especially if you have a great setup. I know it's kind of hard to acquire, expensive things right now, and budgets are tight. But if you can really put some money into your gaming setup, you're gonna get the most. And part of the especially this game and especially the next title, these experiences just become so much more immersive. And Astro's Playroom was just a lot of fun with the music. Again, it reminds me a lot of Sackboy, which really does deserve an honorable mention, and we just beat that on stream a couple nights ago. But Astro's Playroom, I know there's been some Astro games in the past, but I have never really taken the time to witness them much like I did in Astro's Playroom and really see the history and it all kind of play out and really get you used to the haptic feedback is the buzzword, and the DualSense controller, the DualShock 5, or whatever you want to call it. The new PlayStation 5 controller has a lot of cool key features that really are shown off with Astro's Playroom. It's more of a showpiece game, really, than anything, and it really does work. It's not just some sort of tacked-on game. It's more than that. It's a celebration of Sony's hard commitment to its hardcore and its audience in general. Really, softcore and hardcore, whatever you prefer. But this next game, and here we go. I know this is a little bit of a cash grab. I know it's a little bit of a reach, but really, just playing this game specifically with my love for the franchise and having this be my first generation of getting the new console day one. It felt like early Christmas to me. I finally was able to pick up my PlayStation 5. I got a copy of Miles Morales. I got a copy of Sackboy with the free PS5 upgrade on from the PS4 disc version, but then I also picked up a copy of Demon Souls for the PS5, and I could not have been more excited and fulfilled by the time I completed this title in about 16 to 20 hours, depending on what you're going for, and especially if you know what you're doing and what you're getting in for. These games are easier. They always brag on the difficulty of Demon Souls and Dark Souls, but if you give it some time, there is a great experience and a great feeling of triumph when you finally hurdle over these bosses that you hear about in YouTube videos and your friends telling you about. These amazing titles from Software, and really, this is the remake, the Age of Remakes, a launch title for the PS5 from Bluepoint that have really established themselves in making these remakes, and hopefully doing their own game eventually. But right now, most recently they released Shadow of the Colossus remake on PlayStation 4 in 2018, and finally, and we were always kind of wondering about this Demon Souls remake. And it finally came out. It finally happened, and it couldn't have been a better time. I mean, there's always a better time than 2020. It's the whole 2020 has been a shitty time, but I'm talking about the launch of the PlayStation 5, the excitement for a new console, and a game to play. Really, when you get a new console, you kind of want a game to show off the technology, and we are far from the days of Peter Jackson's King Kong on the Xbox 360, and that was a really fun release too. But PlayStation really had a solid launch lineup with the PlayStation 5, and also having free upgrades from PS4 games to the PS5, much like they did with Sackboy, which really made that a cheap $10 off next gen title if you wanted the free upgrade. And it seems like there's going to be a lot of games that do this, but I digress. Demon Souls was just everything you could want in a hardcore JRPG, remastered from the game that came out in 2009, which really isn't that long ago. It's kind of long ago, but I feel like there's been a lot more games that people have been asking remasters or remakes of that have come out before this title. But the fan base and the community of Dark Souls and the From Software community, and the Bloodborne and Blood Souls and everyone that encompasses these titles is very dedicated and very passionate about the world, and I love it. I love the story. If you pay attention and read the item descriptions, and this game looks great, and that's why I kind of titled this in my Facebook game, because this really is probably my game of the year. Really, at the end of the day, I loved every second of this game. I thought about playing it when I wasn't playing it. The bosses looked great. The gameplay was fun. I just love kind of getting pissed off and getting into a truly challenging game. That's why I play games. They're challenging. They really test your character and your mettle. And, are you willing to see the final cutscene of the game or unlock the super secret infinite Devil Trigger costume in Devil May Cry? Yeah, I'm all about stuff like that if the experience is worth it. And this is an experience. This is an experience that I was waiting for, and this is the experience that I paid $500 for this version of the PlayStation 5, and is worth every penny, 100%. This is what I really did feel this when I was playing Last of Us. I really did feel this when I was playing Final Fantasy. I really have felt these emotions, but really the next gen edition and reinvigorated my love and passion and excitement for what's to come with gaming in 2021. So they could have waited another 6 months to release the next gen titles, but I'm kind of glad we got them now to give us something to play and be excited for, and to get a little taste of, just a little snippet of what's to come in the future. And not only from From Software in the team, and kind of whatever was going on with Elden Ring, but the PlayStation 5 and these ray tracing, this mid to high end gaming console that is right there with the high-end PCs. It's truly fascinating, and especially as a console gamer that will forever be a console gamer, I'm finally glad we're getting these specs, and I can really see the detail and the commitment and these super high resolution models and bosses. It's just a sight to behold, and I'm so excited and just so happy at the point we are in gaming, despite everything that's happening in the world. And we've had some interesting things. But yeah, anyway, Demon Souls is great, and it's, if you're getting a PlayStation 5, pick this title up. It's the marquee title, along with an honorable mention here I'll talk about a little bit. But Demon Souls really was just that game for me. I was excited for it. It delivered. And that's just how the gaming experience really should be, start to finish. They announce the game, you get excited for the game, they deliver on the game, and it was a next gen title, so it really just what was check it just checked all the boxes in a very desirable way, and it was fun to see. So yeah, that was the top 10 games as far as that really were memorable and stuck out to me. And I'm gonna finish this sip of glass here, and we're gonna get to the honorable mentions. And I really don't want to take up too much of your time, so I did want to just touch on. We've had some interesting news, a lot of hiccups, and a lot of games just seem to be released kind of unfinished. I'm not even gonna get into the Cyberpunk thing. I've actually been playing a lot of it, and I really do enjoy what I play and what I've been playing. There's just a little bit of a heart missing to the game there, that I don't really get when I played Witcher. When I played Witcher, there's just the heart of the game that I really am missing from Cyberpunk. Although, regardless, I am having a good time and it is fun to play. It's just kind of interesting, and I will be talking about Cyberpunk more, but it's just an interesting experience. So let me know what you think about Cyberpunk. That is kind of the screwball cherry on top of the year that we got. They just kept pushing back the game, and if you've been following the news, you know it's kind of in a rough state, but I guess we'll see what happens with Cyberpunk. That being said, I do have some honorable mentions, and this first game that I'm going to talk about. Hey, Will, thanks for checking it out, buddy. I hope you having a good night, and Happy New Year to you, man. I was just saying how this channel has been a great outlet for me to reach out to people that I don't really normally see. So cheers to you, man. Happy New Year, and can't wait to see you next. But yeah, so here we go on to the honorable mentions of the show here. And actually, this first one is going to be a free PlayStation Plus game of January, and I'm talking about Maneater, that actually released in the summer. I'm trying to think of when I think this game came out in May. And this is the dubbed Shark PG, the Shark RPG, where you can evolve your shark. There's an open world with kind of mini levels, and you progress and you take on different underwater boss battles. And it was such a different game, and I actually just really enjoyed the creativity of this Shark PG and all the different wildlife you would see, and it was just a nice different take than just some cowboy running around in an open world above water land. I'm not jabbing at you, Red Dead Redemption. I love you, but it was just fun to see in underwater in a fun swimming game, because we always kind of loathe the swimming levels, of course. Especially if you're a classic gamer, the underwater levels always kind of suck. But Maneater was a fun game. Yeah, it had a lot of bugs. They've ironed them out now. I do kind of want to mention it's kind of salty to see so many games release in the state they do, and that's leaving a bad taste in our mouth, much like Cyberpunk. Really, you can have a heart-filled, super-driven story experience, and you can have, dream projects much like Maneater. But if you don't have a polished game, people can't really take the time to see your vision. But I think Maneater managed to have just enough there for people to have fun, much like myself, especially if you're playing on PlayStation 4 Pro and Series X. You have a little bit more of an advantage there. And this game is going to be free on PlayStation 4 and 5 in January, and it is creative, and I think they've fixed this game enough if you can have the internet patch where you should absolutely check this game out. It's fun. You can customize your shark. The sharks are awesome and badass, and it's exciting to see the next area and what different enemies it has to offer, and all the little nooks and crannies, and actually kind of a little bit of a heartfelt story intertwined into Maneater as well too. Again, um, it's kind of good to see a good story interwoven in these huge open world games. It's kind of just interesting to see how you play out the game as far as the story goes, but it's really fun on top of interesting. The control scheme, much kind of taking after Dark Souls actually a little bit, but the graphics are really cool when you get into kind of some of the more of the underwatery and the expansiveness, and I've always had a fascination with underwater life, and Maneater really tickled that coochie for me in that respect for. So that was a lot of fun with Maneater, and my next title is one of those story-driven, not episodic, but kind of a play-by-play, make your own choice, point and click. A game that I wasn't really super fond of, but there's kind of something lingering to me about Black Sad. This title I just kind of I think was released earlier on PC, on Steam and stuff, and then just did release earlier this year. With a point and click adventure with interesting characters based on a Spanish graphic novel of the same name. But there was just some really interesting characters, and kind of really reminded me of Mouse, the Art Spiegelman graphic novel that you might have read, in class or maybe on your own. But very good stuff, and the representation of animals and humans, and just the kind of this creative filter that I can't think of the creators of the artists here, but a very idealistic ideologic game with some memorable lines, and some storytelling, and but just kind of stuck with me, and just kind of made me miss the days of Telltale, and again, kind of scratch the itch of a story-based, choice-driven game when we don't really know if we're getting The Wolf Among Us Season 2, or if the whole Telltale era is dead. And this games like this really do it for me. And I did have a great time with the noir, and the black noirness of it all, and the crime scene, coldness of it. I have kind of a guilty pleasure of these experiences, and all wrapped up into one. I'm sure if you were really looking for titles like these, you'd be playing Detroit Become Human, or just maybe even replaying the old Telltale games. But Black Sad, if you're looking for something a little different that's maybe not so well known, this was a nice change up of pace with, again, a lot of bugs and some technical issues there. But if you're willing to get through them and just play the game, I think you'd kind of find some good moments in Black Sad to see it through till the end, and see the who done it aspect of this game. I do have 5 total honorable mentions. Black Sad being the second one. The next one really was just, again, scratching my itch until Demon Souls and the PlayStation 5 was coming out. I wasn't too sure what to think about Mortal Shell, but when Mortal Shell hit, I picked it up and I loved it. And it wasn't, it's about a 10 to 15 hour experience, not even that, more of a 10-hour experience of just what you'd expect from an original Demon Souls or Dark Souls. A little clunkier, not too refined. This is, again, by an independent, smaller studio. But when they first announced this game, it was kind of, one of those GoFundMe type things, with a true vision and a true inspiration from the Dark Souls and Demon Souls and the From Software games, to give us another one of these experiences with hardcore gameplay, kind of set in a very visualized world with characters and storytelling, and but a really heavy underlayer of storytelling going on. So this was great with a budgeted $30 title when it released in August, I believe. But yeah, it was just really good. The graphics aren't really anything to write home about. The gameplay is pretty basic, even a little clunkier than Demon Souls, but again, something to distract us and to keep us going and inspired for a smaller title with a great vision and solid gameplay, and solid, clear inspiration from games we know and love. And yes, this next title is, I'd say, the second to last honorable mention is the emphasis of the antithesis, the not the antithesis, I don't know, the culmination, the ideologistic. I don't know why I want to keep saying that word, but really the master of remake masters is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. We finally got this game in September, and we were scared about maybe DLC, paid DLC, and loot boxes, but no, they really, Tony Hawk, I think, finally got the right group of people together. They approached him. People have been waiting for this remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it, for a long time, and they delivered with the stellar soundtrack we got from back in the day on the PS1 and 2 days. Still the feel good notion of pulling off the trick, and with just improved HD graphics and the fidelity of the frame rates and the moves and the character customization. It really just expanded everything that made Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 good. And all the songs, all the soundtrack, it feels so good to finally relive that soundtrack once, because playing games when you're older, you get a different feeling and emotion out of them. It really is a different experience to play these games older, and it's even better when they get the remaster or the remake right. And Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 absolutely did it. And I'm a huge Jackass fan. I know that Tony Hawk hangs out with Jackass, and all these guys are getting so old, and how much life do they really have left to give in these projects? I really hope they have a little bit more, but I'm so glad we finally got this dream project that we've been asking for, and it's just literally taking what they can and putting on. And again, with the Demon Souls remake, taking almost a 1-to-1 ratio. Without really changing too much, and honoring the initial vision of the project with just all our next gen improvements. This game did that. They had to, of course, change a couple of the songs for copyright, and there's a bunch of licensing with Tony Hawk and stuff like that. But this game did it. It was phenomenal. Loved it. And again, another budgeted title that just scratches the itch if you're an old school classic gamer like myself. So yes, in this last honorable mention, could have well just been in the original top 10 list, especially if you get the Ultimate Edition with the Marvel Spider-Man remaster for PS5. If you get, yes, Miles Morales, though. Miles Morales really took everything that made Marvel Spider-Man great, and just fine-tuned it and really showcased the PlayStation 5 technology as a launch title. Again, Sony really working hard to ensure that you want to play something on the PlayStation 5 and giving it the ray tracing and having these volumetric lighting, and really this game showcases the PlayStation 5 ray tracing really well, especially when you play Marvel Spider-Man Remaster. There's so much more there now. When you think remaster, you just think, oh, they're just going to upscale the graphics a little bit. But now, if they're going to truly remaster a PlayStation 4 game on the PlayStation 5, we have so much more to look for, with ray tracing graphics up to 120 frames per second. And just running on the Ryzen core processor on the PS5, it just is so much more for games than just, if they were remastering a PS2 or PS1 games on a PS3, or even a PS3 game to PS4. There's just so much more that they can do with the technology in the game. And Miles Morales was hell of a lot of fun to play with, a very heart-wrenching, very heart-gripping story and tale that any Spider-Man should go through, because of course, with great power comes great responsibility, and Miles Morales just did it, and I'm so excited to see where they go with the real Spider-Man 2 release. This was a great connecting point that I think really was important to set Miles Morales in the story with his own gadgets and his own powers, and it's just going to explode into the eventual all but confirmed Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 5, and maybe the PlayStation 4 when we get it. So yeah, Miles Morales, definitely pick that up if you're snagging a PS5, even if you have a PS4 and waiting. I'd say there's enough here where you could play it on PlayStation 4, but if you're going to get a PS5 at some point, just wait. Just pick it up on PS5 and witness it then. But yeah, dudes, that was all 15 games, my top 10 games, and then we had 5 honorable mentions there at the end. This has just been a great year for me to finally share my passion and to start the Doob Radical Gaming channel. We've just had so many journeys and experiences, and I just try to keep up on all the newest, freshest games. And if you could please like, share, and subscribe to me. It really just does mean a lot and helps the channel grow because I would love to just do this full time and not to go to just some shitty day job day in and day out. Life is too short, and it's all about doing what you want with your time and sharing your passion. And I know that they say, do what you love and you'll never do work a day in your life, but everything is a little bit of work. You got to put a little bit of work and time and commitment into the things you love, and this channel is really just about promoting your passion. And come by and say hi and enjoy the fresh games that we play. All the time we stream long plays with the newest games. We do game reviews, and this is going to be the last DooBisode of 2020. I think we've pretty much talked about everything. Love you, man. Yeah, keep on the good fight. It's been an incredible year. Thank you so much for honoring Meals. I really do appreciate that, man. That really does mean a lot. You all really make it. And hey, congratulations on everything to you personally. My good boy Meals. I wouldn't be where I am today without the strong friendship that I have with this gentleman and everyone else who stops by on the channel. Really does mean a lot. So yeah, keep playing good games the holidays. It's all about taking some time with your loved ones and your family and friends. But if you can sneak off and play some video games, there's a lot of awesome things to play. And I really just want to do a roundup of 2020 and let me know what you've been playing in 2020 and your thoughts and what you're excited for in the future. I can't wait just to do a quick and beyond in the future segment. I cannot wait for Resident Evil 8 Village, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon 2 Forbidden West. We have some great fighting games coming up like Arc System Works, Guilty Gear Strive. So make sure to hit the notification bell to know when I go live. I really do hope to have more of a streaming schedule at some point so you can hop on and see what Doob Radical TV I do brand this the Doob Radical TV now, so you can hop on and see what the old Doob is playing, and maybe I can do this a little bit more with your help. It's just a lot of fun. So yeah, we got some great games to look forward to. As far as technology, maybe we'll get some PlayStation VR stuff. And there's plenty of games that haven't even been announced yet. Returnal is looking very good. There's a lot of smaller titles that are going to really sneak into 2021, and that's not even including the games that haven't been announced and all the indie titles that are just blowing up. There's that Stray Cat game that looks really awesome. There's just a lot of projects. So. And I really do want to do this is the biggest announcement on this stream. This is something I really wanted to get forth. I am going to do a 1-year anniversary playthrough of Metal Gear Solid 3. I owe it to you guys. I know I said I was going to do that at the 200 subscriber mark. I never quite made that, but I want to keep my promise and play some good old classic Metal Gear with you guys in late January. And we'll be doing plenty more Digimon booster box openings. We have all of our booster boxes pre-ordered throughout the year, and I think I finally have a local game store that is finally supporting the Digimon trading card game. It is really hard to start a new tabletop card game amidst the pandemic when we all have to social distance. But I do love the cards, and I do want to do more box openings, and may the pull gods be with us there. This is a gaming channel with multiple games, video games, and maybe a couple of those. Not Misty Mountain, unfortunately, but I'll let you know where it's at. But yeah, that's going to do, Doobs. We will do the Metal Gear Solid 1-year anniversary stream. That game means so much to me, and I'd love to share that with you, and it's got to happen, and we'll make a whole shamu, a whole shafu about it. It'll be a great time. We'll get our David Haters and our Ocelots and our Metal Gear Geckos going on. and everything. So yeah, Doobs, that's going to be the last episode of 2020. Hope you had the best year possible. I hope you stayed safe and stayed healthy. It's been quite the rodeo here on the Doob Radical Gaming channel. We've had a lot of great memories though. And yeah, just make sure to keep checking back. Love you all. Stay safe. Thank you so much. And for the last time in 2020, as always, we'll be right back.